Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Data Show. I'm your host, Chris Greco. And for the next 30 minutes, we'll be talking about different types of data, how to collect data, how to analyze data, how to try to confirm or not confirm that which you hear in the media. So, today, basically, what we're going to talk about is media manipulation and using data and analysis of data to try to confirm or not confirm what exactly those media reports say. So the question today is blank increased 4% since last year. Blank. You can fill in the blank with whatever it is. Now, this was from a real media report, but the problem was that it presented the subject presented is something that basically it engenders emotion. It tries to bring the emotional aspect out. It makes you concerned. Media does this for one reason and one reason only, and this is the only reason they do it. It has nothing to do with reporting the news. And it's interesting to state that because some people will say, "No, Chris, you're being way too narrow-minded on this thing." And I will ask any news person, do you want to report the news or do you want to get your name out there so that, possible Pulitzer Prize aspect or Emmy aspect, or, in other words, it may be, self absorption, or it could be you're trying to get more money for the station through advertising. So the stories that you see on the news are for two reasons. One is to promote the individual that's reporting it. That's number one. And number two is to report from the news station so they can get more advertising dollars and more people will advertise with them because more people view them. And you're not going to get viewers by talking about some, and this is going to probably get upset from pet owners. But I am going to do a show on the number of stories that are done by the media that has to do with death and destruction and war and floods and natural disasters and things that you just don't want to hear about, right? But they throw it out there, and they talk about the stories about those things because people want to know about that. And I went, I'm going to throw in some stuff about Google Trends to show you about data aspects and what people really, really are concerned about. So let's talk about this for a second. So first of all, let's talk about something that let's say you try to track or you can get a tracking. You've got to be able to get the data to be able to either prove or disprove this, blank increase 4% since last year. Now, in most situations, what happens is these are from studies, and studies take it from already existing data in the United States. And a lot of this data is done through what they call CDC Wonder. Now, how do you get to CDC Wonder? Well, here's how you do it. Basically, you just put in CDC Wonder in your favorite search bar, and this is what you get: wonder.cdc.gov. Now, this will take you to the CDC Wonder area. Now, if you hit this, it takes you to CDC Wonder. There's a lot of things you can get from here. I mean, it's pretty cool. Heat waves. You can figure out heat waves, daily air temperature and heat index, daily land surface temperatures. I mean, you can daily sunlight, daily precipitation. Now, what we can do is we can use that as a correlation to some causes of death, causes of injury, that type of thing, right? So what I did was I went to underlies cause of death. What I did was I took traffic accidents. And what I did was I went into underlying cause of death, single race request. And this is how you do it. It comes up like this. And it's a request form. First of all, you figure out what the way I want to group the results by. You can group the results by a ton of other things. Census region, census division, HHS region is human services. So health and human services region, which may be different. Like, for instance, when I worked for Social Security has certain regions, and those regions were such that I think we had 10 regions. So those regions are different from actual census regions. They could match up in some cases, but not in others. So that's why that's different. And then demographics, 10-year age groups, 5-year age groups. I mean, you can do single year age groups, all these different things. So I put year and month as the type of areas. And then, states, I used all the states, all the urbanization categories. 10-year groups, I just used 15 to 24. That's all I used. 10-year age groups, I just used 15 to 24. Why is that? Because most will not get their license until they're like 16, 17. So I figured, about 7 years past that, so I could do that. And I could also do single year age groups. I could do single year ages and just do 17 or 18 or whatever I want. But I figured I'll do an age group, 15 to 24. Your month, it only goes to 2021 from 2018. That's fine. We'll do that. All, weekdays, autopsies, whether they had one, place of death, I put all places. And then ICD-10 codes, we've covered this before. I think it's like International Code for Diagnosis, something like that. So these are ones that are used for Medicare. They're used by all the doctors' offices. Whenever they code, they have to have the code for something. They code for everything. Well, supposedly, but they're supposed to code that, and then the code goes into the system, and then Medicare either pays or doesn't pay. Your secondary pays or doesn't pay. All that. That's all based. All of it is based on the ICD-10 codes. If you don't have a code in there, you don't get paid. So that's where that ICD-10 code is so very important. And then other areas. Now, this is really pretty cool because this is ICD-10 codes. What I did was I just put car occupant injured in transport accident. That's what I put. That covers all these. Car occupant injured in collision with pedestrian, with pedal cycle, with 2 or 3 motor vehicle, with car pickup, with heavy transport, with railway, with other non-motor, with fixed or stationary objects. People sit there, go, other non-motor vehicles. There have been, I'm a pilot, also private pilot. Also, there have been situations where people have been landing on on roadways, and if you hit the plane, it's going to be interesting it's going to be an interesting insurance claim. I hit this airplane. Why'd you hit that? Why'd you hit? The airplane was landing on the road, so that's why it has non-motor vehicle, that type of thing. So that's what that is. Port, fixed or stationary object, non collision, transport accident. So, and all these also have they also have these they also have sub areas, 40, 40, 41, 42, all the way to 49. So I thought, well, I'll just use Victor 40 to Victor 49. That's what I'll use, and that's it. And then what I did was I send it. Now, when I send it, it's going to process it through, and then it's going to give me all these. Now, you notice that the population and crude rate per 100,000 is not applicable, and that's only because we're doing months, and that's really difficult to try to figure out the population per month, because census doesn't usually do that. So there you have that issue going on, but it does have it by year. Now, you can save this, you can export it. When you export it, what happens is it comes in a text form. Okay, so this is where it becomes interesting in Excel. If you open it up, you'll see that this is what you get, like that. Now, what you can do is you can, this is where it becomes really interesting, is how to get this into Excel. Well, what I do is normally I don't do that. What I do is I just do it this way. I just copy it this way, just go all the way down, um, and then just do copy. And then what I do is I go to Excel. Now, I already have this in Excel, but what I'll do is I'll just open up another sheet for you. And then I do a paste special. And if I keep the source formatting, that's fine. I can do it that way. But to tell the truth, I just match the destination file. Now, there's a lot of things here that are issues. I want it to look like this: year, month, and deaths. That's what I want it to look like. Well, to do that, oh, by the way, this is the um, this is the link if you wanted to actually go in there and check it out. In fact, I'll put the link on here just so you can have it. And this is the actual link. If you go to that link, you'll see my it won't have my name on it or anything, but it's a saved link, so you can go in there and you can actually see how I did the different parameters for the searches. So I always thought that was very interesting they do it that way. Now, enough of that. So we have this. This is what I want, right? So how do I get there? Well, there's a couple of ways of doing this. First of all, I don't need this. I don't need this column. I don't need this column. All I want is deaths, right? So I'm going to delete this and move this left. So now the deaths will be there, and I don't need any of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. So this is what I have, right? And let me get this up for you a little bit more. Here we go. How's that? So basically, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, well, I want year and I want month, right? So I'm going to do year and month. So year and then month, because that's what I want to get, to be able to, really analyze this and figure out, eh, are are they increasing? Are they increasing per year? Are they increasing? Is there a pattern here that I can detect from from the months? Let's say, are there more in any month than in another month? So I'm going to get rid. Also, I'm going to get rid of these totals here because I don't think I really need that at this point. I can always do that separately in Excel. Excel allows me to do that. So I'm going to kill this, and we'll get rid of those. All right. So this is what I have here, and I don't need the total. I don't need grand total. Okay. Now remember, this is I should be deaths. What was it? 15 to 24 years, right? We'll do it that way. All right, so this is what we have. Now I want year and I want month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the year first, equal, and I'm going to do right, and I'm going to do the text here, and 4. So all I did was I said I only want the characters, the 4 characters from the right, counting number 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how I did that. And then I'm just gonna hit this little key here. It gives me the years. Then I want the month. Well, that's going to be left, and it's going to be left from the text. And all I want is the first 3, right? 1, 2, 3, comma 3. Now I have that. So what I need to do now, if I try to watch what happens, so I mean that worked out great. So now watch what happens when I try to delete this. See, now you got a problem. So what I have to do is I have to make all these figures. Hold on. No. I'm going to do it this way. There we go. And then I'm going to copy and then paste values. Now, when I do that, what happens is that this little message comes up and it says, "Whoa, number stored as text. Do I really want that? Do I want to ignore the error? What do I want to do? I want to ignore the error because I want it as text because this is a year. Put year as number, then it starts to sum the numbers. It starts to do all kind of crazy stuff. Now I can take this and I can delete it. When I delete it, now everything remains the same. At this point, what I can do is I can do a lot of different things, but what I want to do is I want to make a pivot table because I think that's important. Pivot tables in Excel is really nice. They're relatively simple to do, and they give you a lot of ability to be able to grab things, right? So I'm going to insert a pivot table here, and we're going to go ahead and kick this in. So that's sheet number 5. Now, what do I want to do? Well, first of all, I want my year here. Do I? Now let's do month. I'm going to do month. So here's my months, and then I'm going to have the sum of deaths. Now you have the sum of deaths here. Now all they're doing is they're adding up each of the deaths per year, right? So that's the number of deaths. Now let's say I take this and I want to do a pivot chart, right? I want to do a line. So I'm going to do a line here, and I'm going to kick it in. So I know. So here's my total. Whoop, so I want my total number of deaths 15 to 24. Right. So this is what I have. So what does this show me? Well, it shows me a number of things. One is that it looks like the deaths are relatively straight line here. I mean, except for a couple of months where you have April, May, June, July, and August. Now, why would it be that we have deaths that seem to pop up here, right? All of a sudden they pop up in this month and then they continue to be relatively high and then it drops down around August. Well, folks, how much driving is done in the summertime versus the wintertime, January, February, March, April, right? Or October, November, December. Although right here, you see there's a peak around November. Can anyone guess what that might be? Well, it might be around Thanksgiving. And then, of course, it drops off and then levels off here. So a lot of people might think, well, what about March, April? Well, Easter. People are going to, if people are going to do that, and I'm not singling out one holiday, but there is, there might be a connection there. So the bottom line is that you can see there's some patterns here you can discern from this whole thing. But what about if someone were to say, well, traffic accidents are going up, is that true? Well, these have 4 years, right? So you're talking about 3-4 years of traffic accidents during the different months here. So let's take a look at that. If we were to do this and we were to sit back and go, geez, I think maybe, I'll take a look at this and see what I have. Why don't I add a chart element? So I add a trend line here, and what we'll do is we'll add a linear trend line. Linear trend lines I don't know why they come up as being. I love the way they come up as being the this nice little dotted line here. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a dash type. We're just going to make it a nice solid red line here. And here we go. So you can see here, yes, it is going up. In those 4, I mean, they are going up during that, from January to December. It's a really slight area here, right? So let's take a look and see, okay, Chris, what about years? All right, so let's do years. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do years here. So instead of months, what we're going to do is we're going to do years. So instead, we're going to kill the month here and put years in. This is the years, 2018 to 2021. And let's take a look at this and see what we have here. Again, we'll take a look at a line chart. And let's see what it looks like. Well, it looks like it dropped in 2019, right? It went up through 2020 and now to 2021. It's up here. Well, what happened during this time frame? During this time frame, we started the pandemic, right? 2020, 2021. All of a sudden, we have the deaths are rising because more people are driving. So you have these areas in this area, this area, which is kind of funny. And let me go back and take this again. So the pandemic started in 2020, right? Why would deaths go up whenever 2020 and 2021 were the midst of the pandemic? So I just think that's very interesting how all of a sudden you have this rise in deaths because of occupant of motor vehicles. And that's really strange when you come down right to it, right? 2018, 2019, we started to drop. And there was probably, why would there be more driving during this time frame? So that's a question to be asked. Why do we have that? And so yes, we have an uptick in the number of deaths. But why is that? Why is the situation happening that way? So you can sit there and say, well, how about maybe we increased the amount of 15 to 24-year-olds during that time frame from 2020 to 2021? Because remember, 2020 was a census year. So all of a sudden you have that thrown in that. So you have more population. If you have more population, you have a very, very you have a more of a probability of something happening. But again, all these are quite. This is part of data analysis, right? It's part of what you do to be able to figure out exactly what's going on with this. But the nice thing about it is you can actually do the analysis based on CDC data in Excel, and you can do it that way. Or if you don't, let's say you don't have Excel or you don't have any type, you say, I don't know of anything that is going to really help me here. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the actual data. So you can go through this data. You can do a chart. So you can do a chart, and the chart will crude rate. Oh, that's because it's crude rate. Yeah. So that's where this is where this, since if you don't have a crude rate by year and month, then you have a real issue. So let's see what chart options gives us if we can get away with that. If we can get away with that. But the problem is, because it's by month, because it's set, there's no real population data that hits that, then you're going to have a real issue with that. So it's not going to. So let's just do population and see if population will do it. Sometimes it'll do it, sometimes it won't. Nope, won't do it. So there's some issues having to do with this request aspect, but at least it gives you the ability to be able to do the things you need to do to analyze this data somewhat. So, request form, remember the request form, year, month, and you can do it by 5 different areas. So if I wanted to do, let's say, and by, okay, let's say I want to do a single age. So let's say I'm going to do a single age. So I'm going to do, I'm going to do 17, because 17 years old, according to insurance data, have a lot of accidents. So let's take a look at that. And we're just going to do one, and we're going to see if this thing will kick in. So 2018, 2021. And you have these. So 2018 have 119 accidents, 93, 121, and 147 in 2021. So you have more accidents in 2021, 2020, which is interesting because I think it was like, was it March? I think it was that you had all kind of issues. And if you notice here, you see January and then March, April, May, June, July, August, October. You left September. It all depends how much they were able to get from. You remember, get this data from ICD-10 codes, right? So if you don't have the ICD-10 code, you can't very well put a number in there. So it's hospital submitted type data, and that's what the CDC pulls to be able to make that work. So, yeah, suppressed deaths are hidden. Death population values in those rows are included in totals. So the totals are in here. That's why this probably won't add up to 119. So rows with suppressed deaths are hidden. So who knows what those suppressed deaths have to be. But that is basically what's going on there. That's just 17-year-olds, folks. That's just 17-year-olds. 480 total in 1, 2, 3, 4 years. So that's just an idea as to what you can do with CDC Wonder, and it's just one of many things you can do here. Also, what I like is going to census. If you go to census.gov, and I've covered this before. If you go to census.gov, there's a lot of different things you can go in here. Census results 2020, verify survey. So just going in there for census results, you can really, really, really take a look at this stuff. Apportionment, demographic profile. So we can figure out, what do you have in demographic profile? A lot of different areas, and you can select any state you want. So this is, it really is neat, because let's say I want Delaware, right? So I want Delaware. It'll give me it'll give me all the different profiles on this, population characteristics. I mean, profile of general population and housing characteristics. So I mean, just that. I mean, you can really take a look at all this stuff, and it'll be good for density analysis. And that's something that we'll talk about in a separate show. So today, what did we talk about? We talked about media, basically like media manipulation, things that they put out that this is it's increased by 4%. How do you check that? You check it by finding out the topic that they're talking about. If it's having to do with any type of deaths or anything else, you go to CDC Wonder, and you can go through that and figure out exactly, what type of data there is, so that you can come to a conclusion rather than have somebody else come to a conclusion, right? So my book, A Data Analyst Walks into a Bar Graph, hopefully very funny book for you. The humor is there. It talks about all different types of, don't drink wine, eat avocados, don't eat avocados. All these different types of studies have been going on. It gives some ideas about the Ig Nobel prizes, which is given out by the improbable.com people. It goes into different, it even goes into a, a research study that I did, that basically at the end, statistical significance showed that people can see just as well without their glasses as with their glasses. Yes, it is not a true study. I mean, it is a true study from the standpoint everything was put together, and I did some data analysis. I did some population analysis, wrote up a limitation study, the whole thing, to show you that just about anybody can do a study. Research study. If you have the data, you can do a research study, and you come up with statistical significant stuff, and all of a sudden, media picks it up and says, "Don't drink coffee. Drink coffee. Drink." It's just all kind of crazy crud that you sometimes wonder the efficacy, the benefits of any type of research study, which is not altogether true. It's like painting everything with a broad brush. You got to be careful. But this is located on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon if you want. You can also get it on lulu.com, lulu.com. You can go search for Chris Greco. Boom, there's your book. So at that note, I will bid you a farewell from the Data Show. And I want to say thank you so much for watching. And please, if you have any questions, or you have any type of questions that you have, we've already done a show on one of the questions, please email me at CANDR at statisticssleuth.com. That is a trademark name, Statistics Sleuth. And we'll look at it, and we'll answer your question, and we'll make a show out of it. And you'll actually, unless you want your name, if you don't want your name put out, that's fine. If you do, we'll certainly give you credit for the question, and we will answer it to the best of our abilities. So thank you so much again. Take care. And always, always, always remember to check the data and to make sure that you try to answer the question that's being put to you by the media or by anybody else that attempts to try to persuade you to do certain things using data that you can check. Take care.